All right, guys, part two, project description. So moving into the background and needs section. Okay, so coming out of the objectives section, you're going to want to provide persuasive contextualization. So again, who's your audience and what sorts of choices do you have to make to convince them to fund your project? So use verifiable, convincing evidence, and also summarize both the evidence and the conversations around the problem. So, for example, in the paragraph below, which follows from the paragraphs that we were looking at earlier, or excuse me, in the previous video, taken from the Burnett reading from last week. This passage is going to identify both like indisputable evidence, right? The chamber is 1,000 feet down. There's been as many as 310 accidents. I'm sorry, but it's also going to paraphrase the different sides of the debate. So at issue is the safety of the site, which sits on the fault line, and the question over the transport. And then here, enter the debate. So on the one hand, you have opponents of the transportation plan who include environmental groups, public health, etc. And that to these opponents, the possibility of leakage means the plan is unsafe. And yet, the proponents of the proposal, including the Department of Energy, do not see the possibility of accidents as a risk to public health. So you're welcome to borrow these sorts of phrases for contextualization. So just like writing lab reports or English essays or, I don't know, any type of academic or technical professional communication is going to rely on specific phrases. So you are welcome to not only, but also, so that issue is not only the relative safety of the site, but also proposal. These sorts of little phrases, so many interested parties, scholars in the field, public consensus, also help frame out through sort of prepositional phrases, intro phrases, who is saying what to whom. Again, proponents of the plan, opponents of the plan. And you are also welcome to a on the one hand and on the other. But just if you use that formulation, make sure that you use both hands. Okay, so this is the, methodologies lit review section. Even though it's not going to be as like explicitly developed as it would be if you were writing an essay or a lab report, etc. But we do need to talk about what constitutes a valid source and where to find them. So you're welcome to look at government or organization sites, right? So sites like the EPA are going to have both, we can look, public-facing assessments of the data that they collect, but then they're also going to have expert information like laws and regulations, compliance, guidance, etc., and then also some raw data that they collect. In addition, you might want to think about nonprofit organizations like the Audubon Society. So they are going to have, there's a bunch of, the Sierra Club. So here's the essay on plastics. That is both public facing, but also includes reference to scholarly produced or government agency produced sets of information. So this is also not footnoted, but the links will send you out to, for example, primary source text. So congress.gov and a white paper on transportation infrastructure. Finally, if you are talking about, recycling, CO2 emissions, transportation, etc., you might want to look at city records style databases like environmental education in Georgia, right? So again, there's going to be front-facing, general public facing information, and then data on the back end for specialists or culled from specialist information. For this week, because we're writing abstracts and summaries, or abstract summaries that I'm using the word interchangeably, you are going to want to find some scholarly sources. So again, I know you guys are grown-ups and that you are probably all crackerjack researchers. So you can, if you like, go to peer-reviewed journals, databases, and academic books that you're familiar with. But given that lots of us are working outside of our field, you are welcome to use the research guides that the lovely research librarians at the Georgia Tech Library have put together for us. So this will walk you through it. If you head over to the homepage, and then you should probably log in, and then click on Research and Support, over to Research Guides. The research guides are going to give us all these subject headings. You're welcome to choose. There's others that would be helpful. I mean, government information, public policy, etc. But let's us go to environment, and let's click on sustainability. Again, this is just an example. All of the info here is going to send us out to, for example, these databases that are going to have blind peer-reviewed articles. Again, articles submitted by specialists in universities and also in nonprofit think tanks or government agencies, subject to a blind peer review process and publication, are the gold standard for scholarly information. I provided an example scholarly article with an abstract for you guys to read this week. So again, if you're looking for articles, either just dig through the databases on your own or avail yourself of the subject guides. And here's a guide, or a way to use the subject guide. So here's the sustainable computing essay that I included as a model for scholarly abstracts. Okay, so in this section, you're going to want to use all of your sources to craft sort of summaries or paraphrases that respond to the following. What goals is your project going to accomplish? What barriers exist to accomplishing your projects? What lessons from past and current research support your work? And what value will you provide? So you can see all of these questions demand like a response that you're working out from evidence. So you're going to identify need to redress it. So ideally, a review of the evidence and the history of the ways the evidence has been mobilized should show your readers, the people that you're asking for money, who you can anticipate are both like specialists and non-specialists, the need you plan to fulfill with your project exists. Okay, so look at the second to last paragraph from the Burnett example. That's going to argue the contention over transporting waste has created a risk communication problem that their project aims to solve. So, given these conflicting assessments, who should we believe? Who's providing a more accurate assessment of the risks? In your proposal, you're probably going to want to write declarative and not interrogative questions. But again, the example proposal objective section is saying that not only is there this material problem over like the waste itself and how to transport it, but then there's this communicative problem where opposing stakeholders are producing sets of information that make it so the public might not have the information that they need to like decide and respond. Okay, and then finally, APA parenthetical in-text citation style. So you go ahead and cite the text as needed in the body, and then references. This is the final section of the proposal. Should include definitely work cited, but you might want to also include work consulted. Okay, thanks for that. If you have any questions, let me know. Looking forward to it.